was thinking during davening, Hashem Hoshia HaMelech Yaneinu B'Yom Kareinu. Is it true? Is it true? Every time we daven for something, Hashem Hoshia HaMelech Yaneinu B'Yom Kareinu? You get answered that day?
Isn't it a future?
Okay, might say no, but I mean every time. Something could take tomorrow, something could be the next day. I believe in prayer, but Hashem Hoshia HaMelech Yaneinu B'Yom Kareinu, that's a tall, I'll take care of it today, sir, for you. That's like real service. So, Al Karchav, what's the pshat? The pshat is that Hashem hears the tefillah that day, Hashem answers the tefillah that day, and puts the answer in motion. Now, Kadosh Baruch Hu is above time, so when exactly this bracha should be activated, maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's in 100 years, maybe it's in 7 generations or 10 generations, but it's not dafka. But the answer to the prayer, HaMelech Yaneinu, is B'Yom Kareinu. It's taken care of today. When does it miskala? That's a different madrega. Miskala is a different madrega. It's not always the right thing, you know. A kid says, "Can you please make me a wonderful, wonderful birthday party?" Seder, I'll do it. Your prayer is granted. Your wish is granted, but your birthday's not till 6 months from now. So HaMelech Yaneinu B'Yom Kareinu. So just covered my close friend Rav David. Let's repeat the Gemara again. The Gemara says that Dovid HaMelech, Amar Dovid Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono Shel Olam Macholi Al Oisei Avain. Okay, so I explained on Monday that Dovid HaMelech, says in Tanakh, was standing on his roof after he woke up, a hard day's work and a hard day's night, and he was standing on his roof and he looks down, he's got a view and he sees beautiful Bat Sheva bathing, and he says, I want that woman. And he gets that woman. And it was a chet. There's no other way to, even though the Gemara says, which we need to explain, hopefully, but the fact is he did Tshuva. Not only did he do Tshuva, but what seems to be clear is that Dovid HaMelech's whole life was a life, it became a scandal. It was a scandal. Dovid HaMelech did a chet. Goy Vachitoifel were the Rosh HaVadabrim, the Sainim of Dovid HaMelech, and they were constantly saying, he's a scandal. Stay away from him. He's going to build him. Stay away from him. You're not allowed to even listen to his Torah. Look what he did with the story of Bat Sheva. He should not be in public office. Dovid HaMelech turned to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the rest of his life, probably probably a few decades, and said to him like, Al tashlichenu milfanecha, ruach kodshecha al tikach mimani, Rabbi Moimrim lanafshi ein yeshuasa b'elikim. And that was his life. His life was supplicating and begging HaKadosh Baruch Hu for forgiveness, not knowing where to put himself. How long did this chet take? 10 minutes? Until it wasn't a chet anymore? Got to be careful. Changed the whole dynamic of his life. David HaMelech is doing for the people and winning wars and paskening and halachas, silchus nida, the Gevurah says, and making shalom bayis between people. Everything's good, but scandal. And he died in that scandal. That's how he died. He wasn't vindicated any time in his life. So the Gemara comments on this, and he says, Amar Dovid Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono Shel Olam, Machol li Al Oisei Avain. Is that a steer to the Gemara that says that Dovid HaMelech Kol Omer Dovid HaMelech Chatein Al Taya? Is that a steer? He says Machol li Al Oisei Avain. Amar Loi Machlach, and Hashem said, okay, Machlach. Amar Loi Asei Mi Ois B'Chayei. Can you give me a sign? Hashem said, Machlach, you don't trust me. But an ois means for my detractors. Can you make it clear that I'm vindicated? Can you make it clear that you have forgiven me? I dealt with this ben adam l'makom, so now let the world accept me again. Asay ma'ois b'chaya Amar lei. And Hashem said, no, that's not going to happen. B'chayecha eini moidia. B'chaye shleima bincha ani moidia. You're not going to have that luxury. You will die as a scandalous. Now, Dovid HaMelech Yisrael Chai V'Kayim. We don't think of Dovid HaMelech that way. He was one of my favorite people in history. Dovid HaMelech, but Dovid Malka Mashiach. But you know, when you talk about Dovid HaMelech, that he has to have
good name in our family.
David. Talk about a Melech has to have a kupa shel shrotzim. The Gemara says on his back. So what's his kupa shel shrotzim? Rus. He came from Rus. Comes from Gevurah. That's his kupa shel shrotzim. He's got a much bigger kupa shel shrotzim right here in front of us. Like he's got a kupa shel shrotzim.
But Hashem kept him on the throne, not like Shaul. But it
was a scandal. But it was scandalous.
Yeah, but he could have taken him off the throne.
Could have.
Yeah.
There are many scandalous people on thrones.
Kufa shel shrotzim is when you become a melech, right? And I'm not, so this happened after with the melech.
Okay. Yeah. But you see this Indian of Mashiach, which is, Dovid HaMelech, Mashiach, the Zera Dovid, Semach Dovid Abdecha Meheres Hatzmiach. He comes Roichev Al Chamor. There's a certain humility, a certain humbleness to even the Mashiachus of Dovid HaMelech. Lo Pashut. So Hashem says to him that I'm not going to give you this os, I will give you the mechila, but I won't give you the ois. So here we have two dinim. The din of ois and the din of mechila. Asebi ois b'chayecha eni mardia b'chaye shloima ben chani mardia. Okay, then the Gemara says the story that Shlomo HaMelech built the Beit HaMikdash. It was matzliach. The doors wouldn't open. What does that mean? The doors wouldn't open. There were something wrong. Stubba, before this Gevurah happened, they probably called it a engineer, he probably called it a locksmith, he probably called it, why aren't the doors opening? What's going on over here? We're not talking about Aish coming down from Shabbat, we're talking about the doors opening. The doors wouldn't open. Until he said, Su Shar Mashechem, Minasu Pischei Oilam V'Yavei Melech HaKavod. Brought to Basrei Labivle, says the Gemara, they over Zebelech HaKavod. Look what he's calling himself, a Belech HaKavod. I'm here, open the doors. So he corrected himself. He said, Sushar Meshechem Asupi Sechel V'Yavei Melech HaKavod. Mihu Zeh Melech HaKavod. Hashem Tzvakoi Shem Melech HaKavod Tzela. That's the famous Gemara. What's not so famous is Loinana. Still wasn't answered. That wasn't it. Kivin Sha'amar Hashem Alikecha Al Tashe Pnei Meshichecha. Don't turn away from me. Zachra, remember L'chaste Dovid Avdecha. Remember the Chesed of Dovid. And the door is open. Miyanan. Everybody lost the war. In other words, here was this whole campaign against Dovid HaMelech, and it's going on even after he died, apparently. And at this moment, when the doors of the Beit HaMikdash, the new Beit HaMikdash, open, so he was vindicated, and everybody who was all the detractors lost their koach. Lashon of the Gemara, nefchu pnei kol seinei David kishulei hakadera. It became blackened. And that's what shulei hakadera. So what we were trying to understand is, first of all, why wasn't Dovid HaMelech zocheh to this os b'chayav? Why not? He did tshuva. If he did good, what does it have to? So we see from here that Hashem Oshio HaMelech Yaneinu B'Yom Kareinu is lav dafka. That's not dafka. Yes, Amoichel you, vindicated, somehow justified. No, not while you're alive. Why not? Why not while he's alive? And how is it that why was his vindication somehow expressed and articulated in the opening of the doors of the Beit HaMikdash, not Kesher? It's a kasher. So we had so far two mahalchim, the mahalach, two parts of this. The mahalach of Rav Dessler, which I read to you, was that sometimes you find the Gemara Numa says that you can do a chet, you can do tshuva. Kadosh Baruch Hu is makabel your tshuva. Sometimes it's Tshuvasai Toila V'Yom HaKippurim Mechaper, and sometimes Tshuvasai Toila V'Yom HaMisa Mechaper. So it could be that he needed the Yom HaMisa, however that works, he needed the Yom HaMisa to be Mechaper. Rav Dessler inserts, does us a little chesed and explains to us, like in one sentence, how is the Yom HaMisa Mechaper? Apparently that's a rough day. I don't, nobody's been there and back to tell the story, but I imagine it's something like going to B2 Achlami or something. go to this office, go to that office. Now, what do you come to me for? Go over there. You come to me for? Go over there. It's my picture of Kafa Kela. Here, there. I'm sorry, I can't help you. You should have done this, 5 years ago. Hashem, we live in a country, it's easy to imagine. But he says it's a rough day, whatever it is, it's a rough day, and that's Mechaper. And he says that the opening of the doors of the Beit HaMikdash referred to the total openings of the heart of Dovid HaMelech, and the fact that the doors of the Beit HaMikdash open was a riot to everybody that the doors of Dovid HaMelech's heart were completely open. It's very beautiful, it's very poetic, it's very deep, but I don't get it yet. First of all, this didn't happen on the Yom Misasa. I understand that you needed the Misa. Like there's Shlit'a, Mechila, Machalach, the Kaporah. You need the Kaporah Misa, I can understand that, but it still doesn't explain to me exactly why it has to do with the doors of the Beit HaMikdash opening, and why Shlomo HaMelech came up with this pasuk of Zachar l'chasti David Abdecha. Rav Kook in the Ein Ayah writes, also beautifully, that is his Pirush HaMasech Shabbos. He writes that that's the way it is. Like Achrei Mos Kadoshim Emor, which we say as a joke. Once he died, if you get to if you're my age, you see a lot of people that were such great people when they were they didn't live such great lives, but like you go to their levayas, like you think they were like the Gedolei Hador, from the Hespedim. Sometimes I even said those Hespedim. That's what it is. Rav Kook explains that the reason is that the bad part is not lefanecha. You don't have to deal with that bad part any longer. What's left is the good that remains. Everybody has good. And the gaguyim, and we miss that good. I guess something like, sometimes people go through very difficult things, and Kadosh Baruch Hu gives you a blessing of shikha, where you can remember the whole episode, but we don't really remember pain. Ad kedei kach. That's something which is because otherwise you wouldn't be able to live. It is a trauma, and it does have an effect, but we don't remember it like we remember. So somehow we remember the good, and we don't remember the bad. It's a bracha from Hashem. And he says that's what has to happen. That Dovid HaMelech had to die. His presence had to be not before us, before Klal Yisrael before he was able to be vindicated, and Klal Yisrael was able to see his good. It's also not a complete beer because this is HaKadosh Baruch Hu we're talking about. He doesn't have these psychological, problems. Teilios, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could do anything, So you think, well, no, you have to die first.
What is Chesed of Dovid?
Oh, and what's this pasuk?
Yeah.
So really, what we need to do to understand the Omek, and this is where we left off, right on cue, Penny. This is where Tzaddik tells us, in my opinion, a whole different level of understanding this. Let's start right here, if you want to look inside.
Where are we inside? Which mimer?
Oh, we're in Mimer Vav. And our regular placeholder is not here today.
Is there an host inside there, or a deeper hospital or something?
Okay, can I see?
You 19,320.
320. It's 319, I think. In the first column, very actually important to look inside. Os Yud Gimel, about 5-6 lines from the bottom. Says Reb Tzaddik as follows. Sof, you see it?
Yeah.
Lo niskalo zichuchay legamri. At the end, even though Hashem was Moichel, Dovid HaMelech, let's be careful with the words here. Lo niskale, there wasn't a gilui of zichuchay of his own Tara legamri. In other words, let's be mature about this. He did something wrong. He did an avera. He did a chet. He succumbed to his Yetzer Hara. So a woman went after her. It's not the right thing for a tzaddik. So and he did tshuva. Clear, he did tshuva. Those tehillim are the makor of our tshuva. Sof lo niskalo zichuchay legamri v'alkein omer lo, and Hashem told him, v'chayecha ini ma'diya rak b'chay shloima bincha shamer zachar lechaste Dovid v'nena. It wasn't until Shlomo HaMelech, when he said these words, remember the chesed of my father David, that he was vindicated. Kiniskala oz, let's say we could have Siyata D'Shmai to understand these words. Kiniskala oz, what happened when the doors of the Beit HaMikdash opened? There was a gilui, shahaya davuk, that Dovid HaMelech was davuk, b'chasadim HaKadoshim, shi'avas HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'Yisrael, v'loi ba'avas ra'os hanimshach mechasadim de Kalipa. Ki Chesed hu. Ki Chesed hu, Vayikra Parakov Yud Zayin. Does anybody?
That's by the animal.
No. Harshas Achremais. Achremais. The Lashon of Arayas.
Okay, that's it.
Ki Chesed hu. Allah Chesed. Abo Allah Choisai. It's an Avera. Ki Chesed hu. It's like such a random pasuk. Well, Chesed. Chesed is a good thing as far as you know. Like, we have an Arayas Gemach. What's Ki Chesed hu? So, let's get the words first. I think is the pshat, the Elvik pshat. The words are that there was some kind of a gilui somehow or another when Shlomo HaMelech stood before the doors of the Beit HaMikdash. There was some type of a gilui which said that the chesed of Dovid HaMelech, as you point out, the chesed of Dovid HaMelech came from a makor of kedusha and not from a makor of tumah. Meaning, there's such a thing. Look at the arayos as a chesed which comes from makor hatumah, or in Hasidic language, from the kalipa. There's such a thing, a kindness. Now you're thinking like insincere kindness, but I don't think so. We're not talking sincere, insincere. We're going much deeper into this. This is root canal. Like we're deeper. It's important to understand the following. That let's to make it easier. Let's put this kabbalistically. You have the spheros. The spheros were Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes. Chesed's on the right. Avram Avinu, Bal Chesed. Tent was open. Everybody come in. Everybody go out. Open house. Right. Beautiful. And then you have Gevurah. What's up with the Gevurah? What's wrong with the Chesed? What's the Gevurah? Why did Hashem talk about Hashem created the world? The Chesed, Olam, Chesed. So what's the Gevurah for? The answer is everything needs some kind of a Gevurah. Everything needs a boundary. Everything needs a container. And without a container, the Chesed is wild. It's crazy. It's chaos, and it's even bad. It's even arayos. So Chesed is Olam Chesed Yibada. The first light of the creation is Chesed. But if there's only a Baal Chesed, if you have only Chesed, so then you have no boundaries. If you have no, that's not like no boundaries doesn't only mean like too much Chesed, I'm going to burn out. That's not what I'm talking about. If there's no boundaries, it can actually be a bad thing. It's actually the Chesed can actually be a bad thing. You become a benevolent dictator. You must take my Chesed, otherwise I will kill you. There's Chesed run wild, run amok. That's Chesed without Gevurah. So in terms of the spheros, Hashem says, okay, I have to make Chesed, but I have to have Mayim is Chesed. Let's say Mayim is Chesed, Eish is Gevurah in the charts. So let's say you'd have Chesed without Gevurah. You know what would happen? You'd have a tsunami. Too much money. The water would keep going. It would not know where to stop. It would run people over. But water's good. Water's good. If it rains, it becomes like a Chorei Amagel, situation. It's raining. David that the rain should stop already. Too much Chesed. Ain't mismalel about Rav Geshavim. Again, David should stop raining. I just need some Gevurah here. Fill up the Mayanos, fill up the Boyers, fill up the Shichid, fill up the Kinneret, but don't kill us with this Chesed. So Chesed needs Gevurah. The Dovid HaMelech was Balei Chesed. The Gemara Brachos is Baruch in his Chesed. That he got up b'chatzos halayla and he not learned Torah. That he was Isaac in the part of helping people with shalom bayis that one would delegate to underling or a secretary. Looking at Dav and looking at Shilya. It's not like today, like I'm looking at a bar. This is not talking holding a shilya in your hand and saying, "Well, is this a tummy? Is it not tummy?" Like he got his hands dirty, and I presume that's one example. I presume there was a Dovid HaMelech here, a sign of Dovid HaMelech, which was that he was willing to get his hands dirty. There was nothing ivory tower about him. There was nothing. Besser a bench about him. He was actually, I don't know if it doesn't say this about Shlomo HaMelech. It doesn't say it about any of the Malchei Yisrael. It says about Dovid HaMelech. Roichev ala Chabor. He's Roichev ala Chabor. I don't need a driver. He's Roichev ala Chabor. It's not even like Rabbi Lazar ben Aruch that he was, he was Mechaber Acher Recha ben Zakkai. No, he was right there, regular person. This is the Chesed of Dovid HaMelech. His Chesed apparently lost its Gevurah by the Ma'aseh of Bat Sheva. Dovid HaMelech and Hashem should forgive me because I'm just trying to win time. I'm not knocking. I'm a fan. But apparently, Reb Tzadok says, other Sfarim say that if you want to get like tzedakah, if you want to get a good donation from somebody, go to a Baal Taiva. They'll be margish your hunger. One of these perfect people, that just perfectly disciplined people, and people that don't need anything. They don't understand. So who's going to be nicer to the guy at the door who's cold and who's hungry, and is embarrassed? Who's going to understand that? So says Reb Tzadok about Taiva will understand it better than anybody else. So does that mean we shall become Balei Taiva? What does it mean? It means to say that the Taiva, and this is a very interesting move here. What's the makar of Taiva? What's the makar of Taiva? Taiva could be a very bad thing. It could lead us to very bad places, for sure. It could lead us to Averis. It could lead us to die of health issues. But the makar is Chesed. If you're looking at the chart, if you want to understand where Taiva comes from, it comes from Chesed, because Chesed is the ability of Rabbi Avinu's tent's wide open. It's wide open. Everything's open. Everything's open. There's no boundaries with Avraham Avinu. Nothing. His life is hefker. So hefker means everything comes in, everything goes out. I'm very, very feeling. I'm very, very free and in a way gashmi. Is what I want. This is what has. It's very in touch with the needs of Olam Hazeh, whether they're mine, whether they're yours, whether the next person. I'm about Chesed. I hear you. This is what we need to do. But you could end up with all of this Chesed. You could end up in a sort of an orgy situation. That's where the Chesed can take you. So, if you want a donation, it's a good place to go. But it's not the sort of Musar Dara, but it's Chesed without boundaries, Chesed without Gevurah. That's what we're talking about over here. What happened somehow, and that look at the words of as Rabbi Eliezer pointed out. Look at the words of Shlomo HaMelech. He didn't say, remember my father David, was he a good man or not? Open up the doors. That's not what he said. He said, Zachar Chasdei David. Look at the Chesed of David. He asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu to examine for a moment where this came from. Dovid HaMelech, Shlomo, Ben David, this is the Beit HaMikdash. These were Shur Chanukas Abayis, LeDavid. Like, these doors, I believe, Shlomo HaMelech figured that the reason that the doors were not opening was because of Dovid HaMelech. In other words, that was part of the scandal. And you can just see the enemies of Dovid HaMelech standing there. This is the Beit HaMikdash. Here you want to have a Shechina? This whole thing is not Altaris HaKodesh. The whole thing is wrong. What is this? You're building something on roots of scandalism. I can see it. I can see myself saying that. I do say that. I do say it all the time. The whole thing is not based on Kedusha. So Shlomo HaMelech's challenge here is to say, it's a beautiful building. We want the Shechina. Everybody's you probably Zachra Chasdei David. So can you remember the Chesed? Let's examine the Chesed of my father David. Oh, okay. And the doors opened up. Hashem works fast. The Chesed of Dovid HaMelech was coming. What it means is that, I believe this is what it means, that nobody was justifying, not Shlomo HaMelech, not Hashem, nobody was justifying the Chet of Dovid HaMelech. But they were understanding that Dovid HaMelech, you could do a Chesed which is really like a Baal Taiva, which is really a bad person. Yes, it's coming from Chesed, but that in Hasidic language is the Kalipa of Chesed. It's really just self-serving. Or there could be a very, very deep, beautiful Chesed which is run wild. So Zachar Chasdei David is, if you examine all of the Chesed that he did in his life, is he a real good Baal Chesed? Is he Avraham Avinu or is he an Esav? Who was bringing food to his father also? Was he coming from the Kedusha of the Chesed, or was he coming from the Kalipa of the Chesed? Daika, that the way the Beit HaMikdash works is that the Kadosh HaKadoshim is the Kedusha. The Sha'arim around the Kadosh HaKadoshim are the Pischei, the Kedusha, which is the Kalipa. Kalipa is not even a bad thing. Kalipa is like the shell of a nut. This is not so dissimilar to the very famous words of Rabbi Meir, the Gemara, where he explained, he tried to put, and I imagine this wasn't just like a throwaway thing that he said one day to Mishmar, it was a Shita, where he tried to explain like the phenomena of the generation, Elisha ben Avuya, which was unexplainable, like how he could do the things that he did. He did bad things. He was a bad man. It wasn't just he did bad things. He mastered to the Romans. He did a bad thing. He got a lot of Talmidei Chacham in trouble. So what did he say? Klipasai zarakti v'taycha yachalti. That look, there's a klipa and there's a taich. Egois matzasi. Klipasai zarakti v'taycha yachalti, according to Rava. Rava's memory of Rabbi Meir. Or Ribai matzasi. I sorted it out. Machlokes. Is it was Elisha ben Avuya? It was like an outside hard shell that you have to crack, and I took the inside, or was it more like a rebound, which was all complicated, like good stuff and bad stuff all mixed together? Okay, Machlokes Rav and Abaye, the Gemara. How do you understand Elisha ben Avuya? But there's good there. There's a chesed there. So what did Rabbi Meir say? He wasn't saying klipasas are like beautiful. He's saying that it could be even, I believe that he was saying that it could be even the Rav Elisha ben Avuya was coming from a makam of Tov. Now, that doesn't mean that Elisha ben Avuya was good. It doesn't mean we should be like Elisha ben Avuya. But it means I can learn something from because there's Tov there. But by the way, this is the same Meir who was Matayar Sasheretz B'Kuf Nun Dracher. It's the same Meir who was able to see Tov anywhere. It's the same Meir who, thanks to his wife's coaching, was able to see the Tov in his neighbors. The Gemara says, and not daven that they should all drop dead. He was able to see Tov. So if he's able to see type, what Shlomo HaMelech was saying, yes, you think this all came from the Kalipa? No. Look at the Chesed of Dovid. Look how many good things were from the Chesed of Dovid HaMelech. It wasn't just Erva. Okay, so the Arias was a, what do we call this in scientific terms? When one cell, like
An outlier.
what's it called?
An outlier.
An outlier.
Outlier.
Outlier. So what does it mean, defined scientifically?
Something that's an aberration, something that just doesn't fit in with the trend. It's a
And can cause in the medical world cancer.
yeah.
It's a terrible thing, but what is it talking about? What is cancer? It's a growth. So of course, if it's a growth, the body's doing what it's supposed to be doing, just doing it too well. You know?
One cell that got it.
What's up?
One cell that got out of control.
You look like you want to say something, but you really do.
He said that this is Dovid HaMelech Achar Tshuva. So this, that's known as Nasas Chlios, where at the time it could have been the Chesed Hara Mer Klipa, but it doesn't, or Murav by, but Achar Tshuva, it's Nasas Chlios. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu could be made after B'shas Psichas HaSharim.
Maybe.
If I should
Maybe. Actually, you don't love your day Talubais. Your day Talubais. Look at the Lashon. Talubais. That's the very. He doesn't say that your day Asidos. Your day Talubais. The hidden.
If Hashem had given him the os at the time that he asked for it, we wouldn't have had many of the Tehillim that we have that we need.
Right.
Typically, when we think of the,
I don't know if we would have even had a Beit HaMikdash if you really tracked it up.
typically we think of the Kalipa of Chesed, we think of Yishmael, right? There's like the Chesed of Abraham being mischanneled, and then you have the Gevurah of Yitzchak, right? So, but Yishmael does not seem like a hyper Chesed personality. Like through history, he seems more like an over expression of.
Look, I think you're saying something brilliant. I think exactly the para Adam. What does the word mean even? Para.
Break me out.
Avraham Avinu said, "Lu Yishmael Yechiel Levanach." I'm happy with Yishmael. Avraham Avinu was the tzad Chesed. I'm happy with Yishmael. He is the Bechina of Chesed, but look what happens with it. He's killing people, blowing up buses. Where this somehow or another, this is something we got to wrap our brains around. This Chesed can lead to the biggest achzarias. But Yishmael, Avraham Avinu saw Yishmael as, okay, like if we harness this Chesed, this koach, we could do a tikkun oil, we could have Mashiach right now. Sarah and women are always, by the way, the Gevurah, contrary to popular opinion, where people think that women are Chesed and men are Gevurah. That's on the like on the Danny Thomas show or something. But we need to get more contemporary.
Even I haven't heard of that one.
Who here knows that show?
I do.
Try Johnny Christ.
There you go.
Okay.
But I don't understand. The Yishmael, they'll kill you if you even go near Arias, right? Like women who have a lipstick on in Iran, they threaten them with razor blades and then cut off their lips. Like this is like, it's like being extremely makjid on Arias. So it seems like the opposite of Chesed, and yet that's the.
But they're big balei Arias. They're just makbid on other people.
That's what the Gemara says, right? Like 9 levels of Arias.
Yeah, they're big balei Arias.
So.
They kill people for being gay. They have the highest level of gay population in the world. Okay, I'm saying they're into that sugya. That's for sure. They're into that sugya, and to solve it with rasicha, that's clever. Like that makes sense.
I don't know if this is exactly correct, but the Beit HaMikdash is built l'kape al chato singel, al kol chato singel. So what would be more than anything in the world when you open up the Beit HaMikdash and you say Bavur Dovid Avdacha, and the gates open up, and this is the place where you're forgiven for all your averas? It's the open magic sesame.
Open sesame. Right. Meaning we need to mix into this, very good, the element of Kaporah, which took place at the Beit HaMikdash. So this This is the makom. And the opening of the door is clearly, represents, the opening of the Kalipa and getting into the toch of it. So the Kaporah really takes place at the Kadosh HaKadoshim. That's really where the Kaporah takes place, and that's where the Shekhinah is showering. And look, the Kohen Gadol went on Yom Kippur into the Kadosh HaKadoshim, and that's where really this wasn't something you did in the Ezra's Nashim and the Ezra's Yisrael or in the Harabais. It had to be the Kadosh HaKadoshim, which is the lave of the whole Klal Yisrael. This represented, and that's where the Shekhinah happens. So if I'm correct in understanding this,
I'm missing. I can't connect the dots. Where does Chesed and Wild lead to Arayas or the Pasuk of Vayikra? I don't. I'm missing something.
Chesed means no boundaries.
Okay.
When there's no boundaries, you could have Arayas.
It's not that you're a given person or that you're a kind person or you're.
Forget about the word kind.
Nothing.
Forget about the word kind. Chesed means, I'm giving you a new translation.
Okay.
Chesed means no boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happens when you have no boundaries? One thing that happens is you give a lot of tzedakah. Another thing that happens is arayas. We've seen it with our eyes. We've seen it with our eyes. It's hard to understand. And now it's interesting. Let me tell you a word that I just made up. V'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha. The Gemara says what? What's b'chol levavcha? Yitzhahara, Yitzhahara. How does everyone understand it? Everyone understands it that, look, your Yitzhahara is also good. Like, also is getting you, that's what's getting you going, and that's what's your ambitions from. So you have to love Hashem b'shnei Yitzhahara. I have a different shot. V'ahavta. We're talking about Ava. That's on the side of Chesed. Ava comes from the side of Chesed. V'ahavta es Hashem. B'chol levavcha. That Ava will bring you good, and that Ava will bring you bad. The Yetzer Hara, that Ava brings you Yetzer. Yetzer means desire, drive, ambition. Yetzer will branch out into Yetzer Hara, Yetzer Tov. So you have to know that once you engage, maybe better, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have done this, could have handled this differently. He said, Lo ahavta, don't do it, because once you get to v'ahavta, you never know, you're going to end up with arayas. Do you understand how v'ahavta could come to arayas? You understand that, right?
Too much love.
Too much love, free love. Yeah, I mean, look at it. Look, the whole 60s was v'ahavta. it was.
Where were we?
Where were we? Well, the whole, it was sitting in our eyes. Avas Yisrael even goes too far. You see that? Like, Ava b'kalkelas is a shura. So, but what's that shura we're talking about? The shura is the boundary. So v'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha means, says the Gemara, that once you get to v'ahavta, that means you're engaging kol levavcha. Once you're engaging kol levavcha, that means you're really big on the sitra de chesed. And if you're really big on the chesed side, you're going to have a yetzer hatov, but boy, you're going to have a yetzer hara, because this is an Ava person. So you have to be able to harness with your Ava, you have to be able to use Shnei Yitzrecha. So the Mishnah says, what's Gevurah? HaKoivesh is Yitzray. This is the one. Hezu Gibor, HaKoivesh is Yitzray. What's the Eitzah here? What's the Eitzah for this Yetzer? Which is Toiv, which is Ra, which is buildings for tzedakah and big Megala Arayis. What's the Eitzah? The Eitzah is Gibor, Gevurah. That's the next side. Ezu Gibor, HaKoivesh is Yitzray. Koivesh is Yitzray. So beautiful, right? That the Yitzray comes from the Sitra Da'ava. That's where Yitzray comes from. V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha. And Gevurah is the antidote to Ava. That's what it's all about. Put some container here. As I started saying, it was Sarah that said, "Lo yirash Yishmael li b'nim Yitzchak." It's not going to happen. This is lo haderech. It's Yitzchak that's the derech. It's not a derech for Yishmael. It's too parada for me. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says Shema b'kola. So because you need some Gevurah around that Chesed of Avraham Avinu. You need a Yitzchak. So we know this. This is not me criticizing Avraham Avinu. First, you have to have the Bria, you have to have the Ava. But then quick, have a Yitzchak. And if you read the Psukim, by the way, it's just fascinating. When Hashem said to Yitzchak, said to Avram rather, I'm going to give you a son Yitzchak, before Sarah even knew about it. Before Sarah laughed, Yitzchak started laughing. Avram started laughing. Avram said, the Torah says, right, that Avram laughed Bakir Boy. What are people going to say? He's laughing. Nobody's criticizing him for laughing, right? But I'm sure Yitzchak is called Yitzchak because everybody's laughing over here. I don't want Yitzchak. I want Chesed. Let it be Chesed, Chesed, Chesed. We would like that. We would like if HaKadosh Baruch Hu would deal with us in Chesed. That we would like that, but it would be a terrible thing because as much as we don't like it, it's the Gevurah Shabbai, which keeps us in line and keeps that Chesed into some kind of a container. We don't like it. It's not comfortable. It's not a comfortable thing like Gevurah, but it's what it is. It's the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. So Ezu Gibor, HaKoivesh is Yitzra, that what does Gevurah do? It's Koivesh the Chesed. So I'll tell you, Dovid HaMelech, let's go back to what we're talking about here. So, Olav HaKosav Oimar, Libi Chalol Bekirbi. We got a tight here? Libi Chalol Bekirbi. My heart, the people understand to say the Dovid HaMelech, based on the Gemara and Shabbos, the Dovid HaMelech completely lost his Yetzer Hara. Balatanya learns like that, by the way. Tzaddik v'toivloi, Dovid HaMelech was Tzaddik v'toivloi. The Balatanya learns in third parak of Tanya that Libi Chol B'kirbi, that he was Tzaddik v'toivloi. He came to the Madrega where he had no Yetzer Hara, as the Balatanya says. Ma'ani machaye, that's not what the words mean. It's also not what Tzaddik v'toivloi means. What do the words mean? Libi Chol B'kirbi. My lave is contained. My chesed is contained within my Gevurah. That's what the words mean. I'm under control now. In other words, the Tshuva of Dovid HaMelech was not to get rid of his Ava, you see, even the last day of his life. But that Libi Cholol B'kirbi, my lave is contained within my, right? So that's B'chol Avavcha, B'chol Nafshecha, that's the Kirbi. That's what it means. So what he was saying was, I'm not losing the Ava. So Shlomo HaMelech says that let's understand, let's examine the Chesed of Dovid HaMelech. Let's examine it deeply. If you're not opening these doors of the Beit HaMikdash here, let's examine it deeply. And if you examine it deeply, you're going to see that with Dovid HaMelech, although it was wrong, he did tshuva for what was wrong. But to say that Mekoiroi Ra, to say that he was a bad person, like the enemies of Dovid HaMelech said, no, he wasn't a bad person. Look at the chesed that he did. Very simple. Look at the chesed that he did, and you see that he was not a bad person. He could not have been a bad person. In today's vernacular, he had a good neshama. Can't be bad. So in terms of his avera, he did an avera. And we have a whole Sefer Tillim. And he did tshuva, and Hashem said machalach. But people are not going to see it. They're not going to be able to touch up the toiv and the ra, the confusion, the confusion of the life of Dovid HaMelech. They're not going to be able to touch it up until after he dies, because maybe it's like Rav Kook says. Then the ra is not lefanenu. You can better look at the tov that he did. The hesped is good. You can look at the tov that he did all of his life. You could look at it, with a different type of objectivity, and not be all caught up in the ra. And you can say, history can judge Dovid HaMelech well. And history can say everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does averas. Dovid HaMelech at least did a very, very big tshuva for his avera. He recognized his avera, did tshuva for his avera. But history judges him as, even that avera itself came from the son of Chesed, a little too little Gevurah there. So a little bit too little Gevurah, so Libi Cholol B'kirbi. I'll pick up, I boost up the Gevurah part, Ezo Gibor, I become a bit of a Gibor, and Kovish is Yisrael. And that's where this Avera took him. So he was making Oilo Shel Tshuva. We'll just end with Because the Gemara says that Dovid HaMelech created Tshuva. There was Tshuva, he invented Tshuva, in a sense. I mean, there was Tshuva before, but not kind of before-ish.
Yehuda.
Who?
Yehuda did Tshuva.
Yehuda did Tshuva.
Same thing.
Cain did Tshuva.
Yeah.
Right. There were Tshuvas. There was Tshuva done. But he was Hakim Oila Shel Tshuva. That's the difference. The difference is, like the Oila, like you're saying, the Beit HaMikdash. He was making Oila Shel Tshuva. He showed that life is not over. He showed two things to me. Like, one is, we meet scandalists. So if you look at it, on the one hand, maybe don't let them babysit for your kids. I'm not. But on the one hand, on the other hand, it could be a very. I'm not justifying it. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that a Talmud Chacham can look at a whole picture and say, this is what have we done as kol ha'adam l'kavskos means. Look at the whole big picture. Kol ha'adam doesn't mean you got to be that way. It doesn't mean that that it's right, but it does mean that there's a makar judgment. And how do you see it from the rest of his life? You see it from the rest of his life. So it's how we judge, how history judges, how Klal Yisrael judges, and what the Gemara says, how the Rebbeinu Shalom judges. That Shlomo HaMelech invoked in HaKadosh Baruch Hu an opening of the doors of the Beit HaMikdash, showing Shlomo HaMelech, them with his chachma, demonstrated to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that ultimately this wasn't a bad apple. It was a good thing. Okay. Thank you for coming.